might be their first reunion, and no doubt you don't have any idea who I am. Half the time I don't either. But I am Mr. Patty Wingler. I think everybody knows Patty. I do. I try anyway. Hey, I got mine. Doesn't work too well, but I got one. Okay, we've got several things to do tonight, so let's get started. First, I want to welcome everybody, tell you that we're really happy you're here. I hope it's been worthwhile. I hope you've enjoyed it enough to where you'll maybe want to come back again next year, and the next year, and the next year, as long as Patty can survive me and put it on. But thank y'all for coming. I want to remind you that tomorrow we have church, the little church at the end of the street. It'll be at 10 o'clock. For those of you that want to stay or planning to stay for our Sunday lunch, it'll be here at 12 o'clock. I guess just as soon as church is over, you wander on up and spend a little time with each other, if there's any time for that. But a couple of people that I want to, I guess, reintroduce to you. I'm sure most of you already know them. There's Michael and Katie Tettleman. I haven't seen Michael. Is he hiding in the kitchen? Okay, well, he's busy. So let me introduce to you Katie Tettleman. And she and her husband have bought this building. And have been so kind to us that you wouldn't believe it. You know, Bob Alexander and his wife were gracious and provided us this facility for several years with good food. Well, Katie and Michael have done the same thing. Maybe a little bit better. Excellent food, Katie, and tell Michael we said that when you see him, if he can't hear me. The next person I want to introduce to you is someone you probably already have met too. That's Mr. Ben Gatton. He's the headmaster of the Blue Ridge Christian School. Ben is up at the sound booth stepping down. And in just a moment, I want to turn this program over to him. They've got a program to present to us. But before I do, I personally want to thank Ben and his wife and Katie and Michael and any other people that are participating in getting this school organized, getting it up and running, and doing the things like Glade Valley School used to do. I don't know about anybody else, but it sure means a lot to me. Tremendous now, so thank y'all for that. Now, one more thing to say, and then I'll turn it over to Ben. Just like Glade Valley School had to have a lot of generous donors to keep the school going, but Blue Ridge Christian School needs the same thing. If you've got a heart to help children and those who will take care of them and teach them, then I would encourage you to think very strongly about contributing and donating a small amount, but particularly large amounts, because they need large amounts to pay for all of this. But let's get involved and see if we can support them a little better than we have, okay? All right, Mr. Ben Gatton, come and present
all about money. Glade Valley helped me get through school with a person with disabilities such as dyslexia.
Use the microphone.
And my new bride of a year and I were talking about it, and we're going to establish a fund for any children or child who has a learning disability and needs special help. This isn't much, Ben. It's a check for $25 every year. As possible, you will receive a $25 check from me to go to a special child at graduation. The seniors who got pictures, got awards when we graduated, this is part of it. I want to contribute this to the school.
Hello, everyone. I was here a little bit earlier today with my 9-month-old son, Samuel. And I'd come over to just kind of say hi and talk to a few people and just kind of check in. And I came back home to talk to my wife, Kyla, and I told her just how encouraging it was to be over here today. You all, just the few of you I talked to this afternoon, really encouraged me and strengthened me in the Lord, and I appreciate that. It's wonderful to have not just a school family, but to have a larger family of people that have been here, have come before us. And I will probably say it every year, but I want to say again, I truly appreciate all of you, and it is so wonderful to be accepted as part of your larger community and part of your family. So thank you very much. Thank you. I am going to try to not talk too long tonight. Now, my students would say that is a clue that I'm going to talk really for a long time. But one of the things that we think about as educators is that students have an attention span that is as many minutes as their age. So if they are 5 years old, that means they can pay attention for about 5 minutes before you need to do something else or start a new task. Now, unfortunately, for those of us that are adults, it does not keep growing. It's not like once you are 90, you can listen for 90 minutes, and we top out at about 9 or 10 minutes. So I will try and keep that in mind tonight. I brought a video. I have some other things I want to share with you to help mix it up a little bit so it's not just me talking. But I want to tell you a little bit about what God is doing at Glade Valley, what He's doing here at our school. And it is true, there have been some amazing things that have happened over the last 3 years, but it is all because of the work that God is doing. It's because of the vision that He's given and the faithfulness that He has had to us to provide what we need. And we've learned some great lessons, some tough lessons in trusting in Him and following after Him. And again, my wife and I were talking the other night just about how thankful we are about the growth that we have seen in everyone in this community in our school community in the last 2 years, and the blessings God has given us. And I think all of us would say we feel tremendously closer in our walk with God through this journey together. So I want to tell you a little bit about that tonight, because you all are here because you have memories of this place. And I'm here to tell you about the new memories that are being made here in Glade Valley every day. The things that the children are learning, both academically and spiritually, at Blue Ridge Christian School. I know I shared a little bit last year, but for those that may not know, our school started 3 years ago. There was a group of parents that felt a calling in their life from God to start a new Christian school here in Allegheny County. And I think at the time that they did not quite know what what that was going to lead to, and the path that was going to take them down. But in faith, they stepped out and they started meeting, and they started dreaming, and they started praying, and they started putting our school together. And through to what some people would call coincidence, but we of faith know that it does not exist. I was fixing laptops in Charlotte. I was a public school teacher, and I fixed laptops with somebody on the side. And that person lived up here part-time, lived in Charlotte part-time, and he put me in contact with Michael and Katie in that group that was starting the school. And my family and I moved up here from Charlotte on faith. We had not heard really of Allegheny County before, and certainly we knew it was going to be very different living in the mountains than it was living in downtown Charlotte. But we are so happy that we follow God here. And I think what you'll see tonight from the video from the children will show you what an amazing place this is. And some of you already know what an amazing place this is because you were here yourselves. And in a lot of ways, the things that were happening years ago are happening again today. People's lives are being changed. Students are learning to follow God. And we're praying that they will continue to do that throughout their lives. I want to tell you a little bit about our school's goals. We have a mission statement like many schools do, and we have two primary goals in that mission statement. The first is that children would desire a life of passionately following Christ. And we choose those words very carefully because there's a very big difference between a school where everybody has to follow the religious rules and everybody has to do all of these things, and a school where we want the students to choose to follow God themselves. And that impacts the way that we have our spiritual education at this school. And I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. Our second goal is that children will be inspired to become lifelong learners. And when the foundation of your lesson is to inspire children to want to learn, that forces you, or should encourage you, to approach your lesson from a completely different point of view. It means that we take our lessons and we think about how we can speak to a child's inner curiosity, how we can inspire that child to go home and do further research on that topic because they love learning and they love thinking. And we're not always 100% successful, of course, and it's still school, but what we see is that the children wake up and they come to school with smiles on their face, standing up straight, excited to be at school. One of the biggest game changers that we see in students is we have students come to us that are tired of reading, they're burnt out from all these programs, they don't enjoy school, and once they learn to love school, and once they learn to love the idea of learning, it changes everything. When you are excited about coming to school, it opens up all kinds of doors and very many educational possibilities. And when it comes to inspiring our children to desire a life of following Christ, it's a very humbling thing. It's much easier to try and force someone to believe what you want them to believe. But when we say that our goal is to have the students desire to follow God themselves, that means that we have to humble ourselves before God, and we have to ask Him to do a powerful work in our own lives. It means we need to model for these students what it looks like to live the abundant life of following after God. And it means we need to teach the children through the way we live ourselves how to be a light for God in this community. And of course, we are not always successful in that. And the children get to see the ups and the downs. But what our students do is they memorize verses, not because they have to, but because they want to. You'll see the 7th and 8th grade students memorize the Apostles' Creed in the first week of school. And they were excited to do it. We have a strong focus on service and discipleship at our school. And yesterday, it was a long week, yesterday, we had our first discipleship training day. And it was we met in here, and we had people come from ministries that work with families in Venezuela who live in a landfill. We had a group here that works with people in Africa. They make shoes for people in Africa that have these parasites that get into their feet, and these shoes help prevent that. And these missionaries actually go over and help them remove the parasites from their feet. We had people here talking about food shelters shelters and food pantries in the area, and our students are going to get to be a part of a potato farm to grow food for people here in Allegheny County. And all of those missionaries were here yesterday to introduce the students to what they'll be doing throughout the school year. We're not going to be able to send the kids to Venezuela or to Africa, but we are going to be able to make shoes for them. And we are going to be able to raise some support for those families in Venezuela and for those missionaries that are going there to empower local churches to teach people about Christ. And so the children are learning that living a life of following God doesn't just mean going to church on Sundays. It doesn't just mean following all the rules. It means 100% devotion to God, giving Him your heart, humbling yourself before Him, and serving in whatever way He calls you to serve. We will be successful if we teach these students that the best thing you can do with your life is to learn to give it up and give it to God. So that, in a nutshell, is the mission that God has called us to. And I want to read to you something that one of our students wrote last year, just so that you can hear the joy that is in these children's voice. They had to write an essay in 6th grade language class of why they like Blue Ridge Christian School. And this student wrote, "I like Blue Ridge Christian School because you can really connect and have fun with the teachers. And since our school is so close-knit, you can really know the younger grades. The classes are interesting and really push you. Ever since I've been at BRCS, my faith has grown a lot stronger, and it's easier to pray to God and understand the Bible. I've met a lot of new people and made lots of new friends. I've had funny moments and moments that strengthen my faith. Blue Ridge Christian School is filled with God's blessings, and whenever you walk in, you can feel it." And for a 6th grade child to recognize that when they walk in the door, they can feel the presence of God, that is a powerful thing. So I'm about to show you a video, and we, throughout the last 2 weeks, and I put in some footage from last school year as well, I hope for you this video kind of captures the joy that these children experience. And they experience the joy because it's the joy of the Lord. And I'm just going to let the video speak for itself. So Matthew, you can go ahead.
just love the atmosphere of this school. It's a place that I feel I belong. I'm a part of something great that God has in mind for our children and our school. I'm a retired school teacher from the public system, and I had a very wonderful experience during the 30 years. But this is just something that's so fulfilling to me after the loss of my husband and the very empty spot in my heart. There is so much love, and I enjoy the teaching. And here I can put my love for the Lord and my service for the Lord into what I do. And I truly do love the children and love the fact that I'm a part of this Blue Ridge Christian School. Thank you for this opportunity, God. It's a God-given blessing.
I enjoy school. I enjoy the people that's in the school. I enjoy the teachers being a part of their classes, and I enjoy
I've never been
being
in
at the
school
school.
smiling so much. I love the kids smiling, and I love the teachers smiling, and it's a
I
great
like
place.
we can actually talk about religion, and we get to be a lot more active in other schools.
really enjoyed that. You can see our students. We have students at the school from the ages of 3 all the way up to 8th grade this year. We're excited about the possibilities of moving into high school next year. You got to see the children enjoying the process of learning. You got to see them worshiping God together. And you really got to see a very good snapshot of what our days are like. And it is truly a blessing, not just to be a teacher, but to be a teacher with these kids in this place, being able to serve the Lord by ministering to these children. And as I was telling people earlier, they teach us grown-ups just as much, probably more than we ever teach them. And along those lines, I have one final thing I want to share with you. And I'm actually going to read you a text. It was a final exam from Bible class last year. And, part of what I say about this is we do have a Bible class, but we only have our oldest students in Bible class. And that kind of goes along with our philosophy of inspiring the children to desire a life of following Christ. We do not have a set Bible class in our youngest grades because we want to model for the students that God is a part of everything in our lives. And when sometimes when you have a Bible class, the Bible can become a textbook, especially when you're young. And when you're graded on things like memorizing verses and all that, it makes the Bible seem like something you do in this half hour of the day and something you have to do for a grade, just like math. And so what we do is we model for our students that God is a part of everything in our lives by integrating biblical teaching into our core academic subjects. But when the students do get older, we start to have a Bible class, but even then it focuses on learning to apply biblical truths to our lives more than learning trivia facts about the Bible. So what I'm going to read for you, I chose this because I feel like it really demonstrates those two goals that I shared, which is that we have a rigorous academic program that inspires children to become lifelong learners, and class is designed in a way that inspires children to follow Jesus. Writing is something that we are very rigorous about at our school. I believe very strongly that written expression is one of the most valuable skills that you can learn. So we do a lot with writing. And what I'm going to read you is something a 6th grader wrote, which I am very humbled by what the ability this child has to write. And even more humbling are the answers here. So their final exam in Bible class last year was to answer a couple of open-ended questions. And I teach Bible, and I was honestly just very curious to see, after 1 year of Bible class, what did these students learn about living for God and what the Bible means to them. So the 2 questions I'm going to read to you, why did Jesus come to earth and how should Christians live? So, very easy questions, right? Something that, these are very deep questions, and I want you to listen to what this child wrote. For their question, why did Jesus come to earth? To bring good news to the poor, to proclaim that the captives will be released, that the oppressed will be set free, to tell that the time of the Lord has come, to preach the good news of the kingdom of God, to save us from our sins. He came not to judge the world, but to save it. And then for how should Christians live? Let the Spirit control your mind and your actions. We need to live in love. Don't let anything tear us apart from God's love. Obey God's laws. If the law goes against God's laws, listen to God's laws. Live in faith. Don't worry about earthly things. Worry only about loving your neighbor. And that's from a 6th grade child. So I will leave that with you. That is what I will close on. And this is one of those things, I think every teacher has something that they fold up and keep with them for when times get tough, and they do. And this, for me, is a reminder that God is working in these kids' lives every single day. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening to what God is doing in Glade Valley. And I love to answer questions about the school, so I'll be around, and if you you have any, please just let me know. Thank you all very much.
Okay, I would just like to say that it's so not fair to have to follow that. So, changing gears, I hadn't seen that film before, and it brought tears to my eyes. I will not speak for long, and I'm going to share a song with you, but I'm going to need your help, and that will become clear a little bit later on. But a couple of things I wanted to do. But first, I have to say, when I'm here tonight, I was so stunned, and I had to just fall into Patty's arms. I came here in 1977 to teach, and I taught from 77 through 84. And my life has seen a lot of changes and a lot of growth and a lot of movement, and here I am, back where I started. It has felt like a long journey home for me. I feel like it's finding home. I got married in the little church down the street where you will have services tomorrow. My first home as a wife was on this campus. The same house that you lived in for a couple of years. Across from where Ben Gatton lives now. That was my first home. We started our family here. And then the winds of change just took us many places. And I was near Danville for about 25 years. And had to come home to the mountains. And so coming home to the mountains was one thing. We had built a house over the line in Virginia. But then I met Katie. And just synchronicity, just coincidences which don't exist. But conversations would happen, and all of a sudden I'm pulled into this circle around Katie and Michael that has so influenced this county in the most extremely positive way that you can imagine. Anything, in my opinion, that's going on that's just living and vibrant and resourceful and bringing new life to this county, a lot of that can be traced to Katie and Michael. And she called me about a year ago and said, Jean, what would you think about, we have this building and we're renovating it, and sure, you can do that in 3 months. Sure, Katie, actually, I think you had less than 3 months, 6 weeks or something. Sure, that's going to happen. Well, it did. What you learn is that what Katie and Michael set out to do happens. And they don't take the credit, they give the credit to God, which is where it comes from. They're like the center and the magnet, and they pull people together, and miracles happen. And so she called me and she said, yeah, we bought that old Snow Armentrout building. And I'm going, oh man, last time I was in there were pigeons in there, and there were records all around. It was a mess. You're going to make a school out of that. Well, they did. And then she called last year was the first year they were in that building, and she said, how would you think about being involved in a project that helped to renovate the auditorium? We've got that building, and that's a great auditorium, and the county could use a facility like that, and just, what would you think? I'd like you to come out and just sit and write some notes about what your impressions are. And I don't think I could not get here fast enough. Within a second, I'm in my car with my tablet, and I sat out in the lawn in front of the auditorium, which still said Snow Armentrout, and I just began to write, and floods of emotion came to me. So I am privileged to be in the very beginning phases of what we hope will be a very exciting project, both for the school. It has ties to the school, to be clear. This facility, when renovated, will serve the needs of the students at Blue Ridge Christian as that school continues to grow. But anything that Katie and Michael do always serves the community. So our desire is that this auditorium become a community space. We will bring in the symphony, we can bring in theater troupes, we can bring in chorales, we can provide venues for the very talent that we have in this community, like Highland Camerata, for example, or other groups. We have a readers theater. We can be a venue for places that exist in the community, and also bring a lot of culture and interesting things into an area that's already very rich in cultural heritage, but sometimes you need to hear a little jazz in addition to old time, or a little Brahms maybe, in addition to Ralph Stanley. So it's a very exciting project. It's daunting. It's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of effort on the part of many people. But that just seems to follow Katie and Michael. And so I'm here to just introduce you to the idea that we are going to start renovating that building, and we hope to have a state-of-the-art facility that will be a nice, intimate auditorium. It won't be a big barn. It'll seat probably about 250 to 280. It can be used for multiple purposes. We'll have a foyer where there'll be some art displayed. We hope to bring in workshops. We'll bring in talent. We'll showcase talent that already exists here. And we hope that we can do that with a state-of-the-art light board and sound board. And when I was here teaching, I actually ran the projection booth in that auditorium, and that was back before Betamax, before VHS. I'm talking films and a projector. And I would climb up the ladder into that little cubby and show movies on the weekends. My first year here, I was dorm mother of Eldridge Dorm. So I was the house parent for all the girls in that dormitory. That quickly led to my marriage at the end of that year, because that was something I thought one year was about enough of. So my life has taken a lot of different directions, but it's just a blessing for me to be back here where my professional life started, but also in many ways where my spiritual life started. And I found the 1970 book over there, and some of my friends are in there. Not students from my era when I taught here. They're not the ones that are coming back to the reunions. I was talking with some others. The mission of the school kind of morphed, and I would say it kind of lost its way. And I was sort of here during that part, and it closed in '85. Katie Michael brought life back and brought an original sense of the original mission. So look forward to seeing photographs of the auditorium. It's a work in progress. In any way that you can think of to help, we would certainly appreciate that. It's a very, very big project, and we'd love to hear your ideas. One last quick story. I've been hearing great stories about the school and about experiences, but I may have a topper. I was substituting for Rod Bost. Some of you may know Rod Bost. I was substituting for him, and I had his kids for 3 hours, and it was a sudden substitution, so I didn't have a lesson plan. And I said, well, I'll come down to the gym, and we'll do something for 3 hours. I can entertain the kids and talk. We can burn some energy. We'll have a great experience. So we came down to this gym, and everything was going well. And they had installed a climbing wall on the wall. And one child, I will not say his name, but it did come to me tonight. While we were off playing volleyball, I will say Harry, pretty generic. Harry scaled the wall, climbed out of the upper window, managed to get himself down on the ground, ran around the building, took a big iron pipe, and put it through the handles of the gym, and locked us in. And that was the only way out of the gym. We didn't have cell phones, we didn't have pagers, there was no phone here. We were not expected to be anywhere for 3 hours. So I'm here to tell you that I had a room full of there were no bathrooms in this building at that time. And nobody missed us because I was going to have them for so long. And I think finally we didn't show up for a meal, and somebody came down and saw that we were locked in. So that's my Glade Valley story from the other side. Yeah, Harry got a piece of my mind. But mostly Glade Valley is just a treasure trove of wonderful memories, and it's such a blessing for me to be back and be just even on the existential extra parts, not existential necessarily. I am going to be running a music program for the Christian School. So with that in mind, I have a song, and you might know it.